All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
What's good, everyone?
Man, oh man. I mean, to war or not to war? I think that's the question. To war or not to war? Because I feel like this whole war thing has been like driving everybody crazy. Every day is a new tweet. Every day is a new. We're doing the deal. We're not doing the deal. I mean, Taco Tuesday happened yesterday again. We got the extension for that ceasefire. I think they got extension by like a week or so. At this point, it just nobody knows what's happened from the day to day in the market. You just have to take it day by day. There's not a straight shot into what exactly is happening. But nevertheless, the market ignored all of that crap because as of close today, the U.S. stock finished a lot higher. I mean, you're looking at Nasdaq, what 1.64%. I think we end like at some point of the night we're in there. S&P rose by 1.5%. Dow Jones were like 0.69. I mean, are we saying like maybe like the ceasefire extension kind of caused that? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell what exactly is moving this market. Is it the ceasefire? Is it the negotiation between Iran and the U.S.? I mean, it's just all over the place. But we are seeing some dark pool, some people selling oil, buying oil. Like we seen all of that stuff happening right before, surprisingly, before major announcements come out. Something's happening, y'all. Somebody's out there. Somebody knows something. It's always in the market. Somebody always knows something. So, Wale, man, let's get your feedback on this because I think in the short term, there's a lot of inconsistency,
hmm
and for the
hmm
long term, I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah, I think my take on this is you just can't guess. I think there's just a lot of guessing going on. I will say this though, that there's a lot of, I guess, optimism when it comes to the earnings that some of the companies that have reported um, are reporting. So I guess from a fundamental standpoint, we've seen pretty good consistent beats and on EPS and revenues for those that have already reported. So in that aspect, I would assume that, that does make stocks a little bit more bullish. But because of this global conflict, we have to understand that we are still pretty far removed from where we were. Um, this was what, end of February, where oil was trading around like $60. And you're starting to see other countries starting to feel the pain and also too preparing to, I guess, hedge and expect the worst. So maybe the market is front running. Do we see an eventual point where this supply constraint in oil and energy prices hits at a later date? It's possible. We don't know. But I think that the market optimism is a little bit more than what I would expect at this point. Because again, I don't really think anybody knows what's really going on over there, to be honest with you. You got a blockade. Um, you know, you're hearing stuff about we don't care if the strait is open. We need the strait open. If you don't open the strait, I'm gonna do this. Like, there's just a lot of stuff that I don't even read the headlines no more. I just stopped. I just
Yeah,
stopped because I
yeah,
just I don't I really don't know how to take the information. So
yeah.
until there's a confirmed resolution or no resolution, I mean, I guess you just gotta try your best to navigate this market. But it is not it's not easy, I should say.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I keep saying that. It's like I think it kind of going back to your point. Like nobody knows exactly what's happening.
No.
Like at this point, I think long term the market will be fine, but short term, if you are trying to time when the market's gonna go up, when the market's gonna go down, unless if you're an insider person, a lot of times you don't know. So you just got to think about the long term, find those stocks that are kind of getting beaten or whatever for no reason. I mean, we'll talk a little bit some more in a little bit, but just find those stocks and those are the ones you kind of like either buy leaps on it or stop buying those stocks that got beat over the past couple of weeks and stuff. Because not every stock is back to all time high. We talking about Nasdaq is all time high and all this stuff. There's a lot of stock that's still way, way down, So
Hmm.
those are the ones you're trying to start, keep looking at, take a look at, basically.
I'll also say too that another thing that I've looked at that has somewhat surprised me, because if you look at the places that are probably going to feel the energy crunch the most, it's countries overseas, like importers, right? So Europe, Japan, China, like those are the countries that are going to feel the crunch, you know, because the US is an ex is a is an in is they have enough energy to sustain themselves based on what they supply at home.
Mhm.
But overseas, there's some trouble. But I looked at the EEM. The EEM is beating SPY by a very wide margin again, because it started that way earlier before the war,
Yep, yep.
then it got smacked, and now it's come back. And I think the SPY's up like 4%, EEM is up like 13, 14%.
Hmm.
That's a pretty wide margin. So I know, to me, from a valuation standpoint, I know that there are better opportunities overseas, right? But I'm trying to figure out if they're going to be the ones to get hit the hardest if um this conflict does not find a resolution and it drags on for the rest of the year. So that's something that I'll be keeping an eye on, because I really do feel like a lot of these European nations and a lot of these Asian nations, they import a lot of energy, and if they're not getting what
Yep,
they need, does
yep.
production
Mhm.
start to fall off in later months? So I
Absolutely.
mean, that's just something you have to be mindful of if you have exposure to international stocks. But
Yep, yep,
so far, it hasn't shown up in the data. I mean, it hasn't shown up in the stock price.
yep, yep. But we'll continue to monitor that because I think there's still some development going on. I think honestly everybody wants this to be over with,
Oh
to just
yeah.
go back to normal, like instead of like all this back and forth. But I think unless you get a deal that satisfies both sides and then both sides are happy, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
So it's gonna take a while until we get some people with cool head and be able to kind of come to an agreement in the middle. But the way things are going, you can tell like if they're getting there, it's just like everybody now just spitting some random news in the airways. Oh, we're gonna shoot you down if you do this, or oh, if you shoot us down, that means the deal is off and all this. It's like right now, just it's just talks. Like nobody actually like done anything yet. So and it's I don't think they're gonna risk it honestly. Both sides. I don't think anybody wants to risk it basically. But
Yeah.
yeah, we
We'll
shall
see.
see. Yep. But let's talk about Apple, man. I remember a year ago, 2 years ago, we are talking about Apple. We are talking about the lack of advancement in Apple when it comes to AI, when it comes to participating in those things. And we were hoping they were doing something behind doors and they will reveal it this year or sometimes next year. And Tim just decided, like, I'm done. He's just gonna step down. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, like you didn't even try. You know what I mean? Giving us the same product over and over and over. Kudos to Tim Cook. That like, if you look at Apple stock from the time he took on like 10 years ago to now, Apple stock has skyrocketed. You know what I mean? It's up there. So he was doing something right. But I also think he got handed a company at its prime. Like Apple was at really
Mm,
as where Apple was literally at a place where like they were coming up with innovative products, new things, all of that stuff. So I don't want to say he got an easy job, but he got a company with a solid product.
yeah.
Unfortunately, 10 years later, you can see that like, just because you had a solid product doesn't mean like you're going to be in the market for a long time because other companies going to come. Perfect scenario. Go look at the what is that the keyboard company that we had back in the day, BlackBerry. Go look at
Mm,
BlackBerry. BlackBerry owned like 90 something percent share of the market before Apple came out with the iPhone. Once Apple came out with the iPhone, that killed BlackBerry. They tried to catch up, but it just never worked. Just never worked. You know what I
nope.
mean? So again, is Apple at that intersection? I don't think so, but I think also they got to come up with something. You know what I mean? So the new guy that's coming in, what is his name? John Ternus, I think that's his name. He's gonna take over from Cook on September 1st, 2026. So there's still some time before Cook can step down. So Ternus actually started his career at the design team back in 2001. So think about it. That's like really few couple of years before Apple came up with the iPhones. So he was one of the team members that actually came up with that. He was played a very pivotal role in that. You know what I mean? So he has a reputation that he's everybody liked him at Apple, so that's a good thing. He has technical expertise, which is, in that industry, you need somebody who understands, how the company, how the product actually run and stuff. Is he gonna do a good job? We don't know yet. So again, a new guy coming in, hopefully, like I really, really hope Apple will come up with some type of solid design. It shows a company that we know from 10, 20 years ago. So I don't know. Let's get your input on this, man.
Yeah, I think new leadership might help the company. I'm not going to sit here and say that Tim Cook did a bad job because
Right, right.
when he took over the company, Apple's market cap was like 300 something billion, and then he grew it to three over 3 trillion during
Yep,
his tenure. The stock price, was up well over 2,000% in his tenure. So hypothetically speaking, if you put $1,000 in Apple and you never did anything, you would end up with over 20 grand in investment in return, which to me I think is phenomenal.
yep,
I just think that at this intersection of AI, Apple does not have a AI strategy yet. They just don't have one. They tried, just like Siri upgrade stuff that's gotten pushed back. They're going into the foldable phones. I don't know if that's going to move the needle. Um, Now, I will say this though, over Tim Cook's tenure, Apple did release a lot of innovative products.
mhm,
That is for sure. Like the AirPod, Apple TV, a lot of innovative products came out during the Tim Cook era, which I think is amazing. But right now, I just don't know if hardware is what's going to help them or if they need to pivot more into software
yeah,
as their new strategy. Now, I will also say this too: their services revenue has grown tremendously over Tim Cook's tenure as well, and that is a very high margin business. The one thing that I will say is, does new leadership now become a little bit more aggressive when it comes to growing through acquisitions? Because that's one thing Apple didn't really do a lot of under Tim Cook. They didn't do a lot of acquisitions. I think the Beats one was probably the biggest one. I don't know if any other big acquisitions that happened during his
yeah.
tenure.
But they took that
Um,
beast and they killed it. You know what I mean? It wasn't. I don't think it was like necessarily a revenue growth thing. It was more like let's kill this thing because it's a
yeah.
competition. So yeah,
So people thought about Apple buying Peloton. That didn't happen. Um, the whole Apple Car thing, they scrapped all of that. So my thing is with this new leadership, does he have more of a mindset to say, okay,
nope. I think we lost Wale.
um, but we'll see. I think Apple has hit a junction. I think Adobe was another company that hit a junction that was looking, for fresh new leadership. I
Yep.
think I think if you are not on board or you don't have a clear vision when it comes to AI leadership, you could get left behind. So we'll see
Yep.
what happens with Apple.
Yep. Yep.
I've been looking at the stock and I've just basically said that they're not innovative whatsoever. So
Yeah.
um,
And I think they got comfortable. Like when you have that big of a market share for so long, you get comfortable.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You don't start thinking about being innovative because you're the biggest giant on the hill, basically. And
Exactly.
you don't become as nimble, right? So like when you're a small company, you can kind of make decisions fast and pivot faster.
Yeah,
But as you become bigger, there's so many people involved in making decisions, and sometimes it delays. You basically have too many voices,
yeah.
and it just delays decision. It delays innovation sometimes.
Yeah, because I look at companies that have made strategic acquisitions that have been like gold mines. I mean, look at Google and YouTube, right? Look at Google TV. Look at Google who just bought that power plant, right? Or that power company not too long ago.
Yeah,
They they are one of the companies out there, like if they see an opportunity to pivot to grow into the future, They
Ain't
not
gonna
playing
do
when
it.
it comes to writing checks. Apple
Ain't
has
gonna do it.
always been gun shy when it comes to acquisitions.
Yep.
Always been gun shy. So we'll see. But
Yep.
and it's not like they don't have the money.
That's how I said. The good thing with Apple, man, they got money. So
Yeah.
if they really play it right, they can become a chip company, in a couple of days if they want to, or they can become an AI company in a couple of days if they want to. I mean, they have all the tools they need. They just got to buy a couple of good companies, and they'll
Hmm.
have a good product. I won't be surprised if that's something they're gonna do. Actually, is to buy somebody that's already kind of on the verge of creating something great and just roll with it, as opposed to creating something in hell. But
Yeah.
again, we'll see. We'll see with this new leadership what happens. It's always exciting when you get new leadership, but at the same time, it's like how long is it going to take for them to turn the company around? That's another thing.
Yep.
So, well, speaking of Google, man, Google just released two new chips, the TPUs, TPU 8T and TPU 8I. That's actually going to push them further in the competition with Nvidia, and AMD also. So again, like we're seeing like companies investing money into like trying to be the fastest, baddest, biggest everything when it comes to chips. So Google is no stranger to this. They want to be in the mix of all those other companies. So, but again, I think Google only designs, right? So who's going to benefit from all of those different creating the actual chips? I mean, if you don't know how to answer that quiz question by now, I don't know what to tell you.
You already know. You already know. You already know.
If you don't know how to answer that question, man, I don't know what to tell you. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, man. Like, what's your opinion on this? Because again, Nvidia was trying to become this gigantic thing that everybody gets to depends on. And Justin is gone. Like I think he's gonna get it done. He's actually they probably got a good market share right now. You know what I mean? But when it comes to Google investing in this, I know Google has some hardware that they like their phones, their TVs, all that stuff. So is this potentially like a play to make sure that their devices stays Google devices all the way throughout?
So here's my take on this: is that NVIDIA got one hell of a start on building the foundation of AI and training models.
Mm-hmm.
And their price point for what they charge for their product is it's top tier, right? Like if you buying GPUs from NVIDIA, that's like going to a car dealership and saying, all right, I'm looking for a Rolls-Royce Phantom, right? And then Google is probably in there where you probably put them in the like, the Mercedes or the BMW class of, in that aspect. But their chips are starting to get better. They are cheaper. And I haven't sat down and really compared who can do what and who can't do what. But if there is value in that business, the question is, does Google start to eat at NVIDIA's dominance, right? Because right now, I think when it comes to GPUs, it's NVIDIA, then comes AMD as a second option. And now you got Google, who is starting to develop TPUs, which are a lot different than GPUs,
Yep.
but are starting to show some life in being able to handle more workloads and do more than what their other chips could do.
Yep.
Um, and it's just crazy because when we look at the TPU and the GPU market, I mean, you're probably going to get more advanced chips, what, every 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I don't know what the life cycle is, but people are just going to keep producing more chips that are going to be faster, going to have more memory, better networking. Like, though it looks like that the speed at which they're going to start coming out is not going to be. I mean, look at how quick we went from what Blackwell to Rubin. So does does Google have the ability to put a dent um, into NVIDIA's market dominance? We'll just have to wait and see. But I will say that Google feels like the best, how should I put it, multiplayer AI play out there. Like because they do chips, they do inference, they do training. Um, they have Gemini. Like to me, they're the most diverse AI play in the market. And I think, oh, they do quantum too now, right? So to me, if there's a one size fits all AI play company, Google's probably my bet. But I just don't know. I don't know if they're going to take customers away from NVIDIA, but I think as customers are starting to put together their AI strategy, maybe because of price and things like that, maybe Google starts to feel that need rather than NVIDIA. So that's
Yep.
just one thing to see. And if NVIDIA's growth or their revenue starts slowing down in the future, we got to see what Google has to say about that when that does
Yep.
happen. So just keep
Yep.
an eye
Yep.
on that competition, but it's going to continue to grow. I
Yep.
think the competition is going to continue to grow, and we all know that um, Amazon is also building their own in-house chip. So
And Meta too. Meta's building their own also too.
yeah, Meta. So you can kind of see the writing on the wall where people are saying, okay, we don't want to be as dependent on NVIDIA.
Yep.
And that is one of the reasons why I've always said that as more of these companies start to diversify, right, and become in-house and self-reliant on chip making, that might hurt NVIDIA. We don't know how much,
Yep.
but we do know that TSM's door will continue to be knocked on.
Yep.
We know that.
Yep.
There's no doubt
Yep.
about that. So
Yep. And I also think Johnson's one kind of knows that, right? So I think
yes,
in the next maybe in the next year or so, you're gonna keep you're probably gonna hear him pivot to a lot more talk about like quantum computing and other stuff because as people getting just getting into AI chips and the training model and all these different things, he's probably going to start pivoting. He probably already started pivoting to other stuff. You know what I mean? Because it's like you don't want to wait till you really need to start something in order for you to start building it. So I will not be surprised if he's already in house, they already pivot to the next thing and they're already working on the next thing. And then, just yeah, I don't think the chip world is just gonna be their own world. They're probably gonna start developing chip now for the quantum computing and just beat everybody there and become the dominant player there too. Or they might just build their chip right now with the understanding that they're gonna build quantum computing on top of it. I don't know if Amazon is thinking the same thing. I don't know if Meta's thinking the same thing. I don't know if Google's thinking the same thing. Google
because
probably definitely is thinking the same thing though, because they're playing
I'm
the
I'm
quantum
pretty
computing.
I'm pretty sure because Google like if you look at the AI space right now and all of the places that Google plays in, chips, cloud, models, agents, and enterprise distribution. Like their footprint in AI extends a lot further than a lot of other companies
Yep.
right now. And I think it's going to continue to grow. I think Google has executed on what Microsoft has completely missed. And I think
Yes.
Microsoft has been penalized for it, for
Big time.
missing on so many fronts, big time.
Big time.
Whether they can catch up or not, I don't know. But Google has definitely closed the they have really, really made a lot of progress in having a very clear and concise AI strategy. And
Yeah.
I commend them for that.
Yep. Yep. They're definitely doing a better job than a lot of those companies. So absolutely. But that's always been their MO too. So, yeah, they're definitely gonna be in the game in there. So let's move into speaking of AI and all this thing. I know one of the things you want to talk about is inference versus training AI models. I think just by reading a lot about like AI and all these different things, the way I can think about like training versus inference is two different world, right? So it's like if you think about like training is more like you actually feeding a subset of data to the AI. So it's like it becomes like this big massive hole that you just gotta keep feeding it data. But think about when you first learning how to trade, basically. You know what I mean? You get all this amount of data. Like you got to learn how to chart. You got to learn how to read fundamental analysis, technical analysis. You got to understand like the economy, understand how things move, and understand what time period to look at, how to analyze a chart for a stock, how to do how to read like an S1 or something like that. So it's like you are just getting a massive amount of data into your brain. That takes a lot of energy, right? It's like because you got to store that somewhere. The other part of this is inference is just literally like, okay, now that you get all this information, what do you do with it, right? How do you actually start utilizing that? So think about when you actually start trading, when you actually start analyzing stock and executing some of those sales based on that. So AI basically does the same thing, Training AI is more expensive than actually start using it once it gets all the information into it. So let's talk a little bit about that, man. Hopefully we can kind of break it down even more.
Yeah, because I know a lot of times when you're watching the news and they're talking about AI companies, you kind of hear certain words and you're just like, what does that mean? Or, how does that play into the AI space? So I think one of the things that I want to do is kind of just take different pieces of the whole AI story and kind of talk about them individually.
Yeah.
So, as Billy said, inference, I mean, training is basically what that is. Train the model, helping the model recognize patterns, relationships, reasoning, and taking in tons of data clusters at a time and being able to go back to them, reference them, and to use them when they're called upon to do certain tasks, right? So that stuff basically happens like a lot. And that's why it takes a lot of power and compute to get the training done because there's just so much data that comes in. And I'm talking about data about anything because like you can ask ChatGPT anything. Like you're talking about pulling data from all kinds of different resources
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's what training is. Inference is what happens once the model is built. And that's the act of like making predictions, generating answers, and then using actionable things when someone goes into a AI model and says, what about this? What do you think about this? And think about that. It goes back to all of its stored data, all of the training that it did to come up with an answer. Um, I sit here and I think about that, and I'm like, if I would have put two and two together months or years ago, I would have been like, memory storage would have been one of the biggest things that is needed, and I would have just hopped on SanDisk, but I kind of missed that boat. So, that's one of the reasons why like chips are needed, speed is needed, networking is needed, like all of these different like pieces of the story, they all get put together to come up with this like solution. And it's pretty amazing if you like go and like read about them and learn about them about how these models work. Because one of the things I've done in my spare time, I've worked with different companies to help like train AI models and see how they work. And your goal when you're doing that is to create responses where the model can't answer the question. It's like to stump the model. And when the model gets stumped, then it has to kind of find its way out of it. So that's how you get models get built and get better and better and better, is that when they hit these roadblocks, they can go back and look at their data sets and all the information they have and then find a reason on how to come up with a better answer in the
Yeah.
future. So
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting stuff, but it's just one of those things where it's kind of like people there's at this point there's really like no limit to what these models are capable of doing as far as answering and coming up with solutions to stuff. Like, it's really, really crazy. I know they want to put guardrails around certain topics and questions. Like, you ask a model, like, how do I get rid of a dead body or something like that? Like, they want to put guardrails around stuff like that. But,
Mhm.
for day-to-day uses, for
I don't know, bro.
analysis, for producing like reports and things like
Yeah.
that, I mean, these models get better and better. And I find it really interesting about how they start to learn how you think and how you reason.
Yep. Yep.
Like that's like crazy. And a lot of companies now, especially ad companies, right? When you get cookie trackers and things like that, and Facebook and Instagram are starting to learn about your clicks, what they start giving you as far as like ads, it's just going to get better and better and better because it's learning your habits and how you think and how you reason. So it's pretty interesting
Absolutely.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, another interesting like tool that I think is Anthropic just rolled it. I think it's called Anthropic Coder or something like that. It's basically for the cybersecurity piece, right? I think we talked a little bit about this where they put that Anthropic, AI to work. They basically say, "Hey, go into this specific software and find vulnerability." It literally found a vulnerability that was written back in like 1997 or something like that. Like that thing been sitting dormant for like 20, 30 something years. Nobody realized that. It's like, oh shoot, whoever coded this part of the software made a mistake. Nobody was able to detect it. That thing detected it in a matter of like not even seconds. Like, you know what I mean? It found the issue and now they're able to fix it. But then they actually turn around and find vulnerability in every single software out there, right? So again, those models are becoming really, really powerful. And one of the things that Anthropic, they say that they're not gonna roll that specific model just to anybody. They're gonna roll to specific companies first. Because think about it. If you're a cybersecurity hacker, you got a hand on that software and you put it out there to go and find vulnerabilities for you. Like imagine how many things you can actually exploit. You know what I mean? So I think Anthropic is being nice because they're like, you
Well,
guys fix, go ahead and patch those things first before we release it to everybody else.
you know how quick I would hack the Pentagon?
See, the Pentagon is a little hard, right? Because they really use like old data. Like, yeah, our government they still look like they still use like some a specific software that just like really really old. So, but uh, this all that to say is like the training models are becoming really really good. So now inferencing is actually becomes a lot better, right?
Mm,
The only thing we looking for now, and I keep saying is like those bots, those AI agents, when they get to a place where they can be autonomous and be able to conduct things for you without you having to prompt them, I think we're gonna have a problem,
mm,
right? Because now, how do you stop an AI from like trying to run your life for you, basically, or how do you stop them from like generating something that you didn't ask them to do? Because they're just gonna
mm-hmm.
look at your day, maybe look at your schedule, you give them access to, I don't know, like your day-to-day work, or give them access to like your phone, and then they just start making decisions for you. And and that's for me, that's the scary part, But again, it's these things are just becoming a lot more powerful now. So we shall see. We shall see. Let's talk a little bit about those earnings, man. When you texted about GEV, I was like, what in the world? If you guys don't know it, if you guys haven't looked at GEV, go look at GEV and how much it ran today. That thing ran, I don't know how much was it, like the last time I looked at it was over, let's see, it was like 13% or something like that.
Yeah, I think it closed up 13.75%. But
Crazy.
what I want to point out to GE is go look at the 2-year chart of GEV and look at it
Oh.
and look at a monthly chart. So GEV was a spinoff from GE. I think they began trading in 2024 of
Mhm.
March.
For
That
hundred
stock is
dollars.
Yeah, it's $100 stock. And that stock is now trading at 1,142,
Jesus.
and it has only had one, two, three, four, five, 6 down months.
That's it.
And I think we talked about GEV when it comes to data center supply
Mhm.
power. So this is what GEV reported. They said revenue guidance. They moved it higher to 44.5 to 45.5 billion, margins of 12 to 14%, and their backlog grows by 13 billion to 163 billion. So, strong bull case, gas turbines and grid equipment. Remember, we've been talking about this. The grid needs upgrading
It
to
needs upgrading.
handle a lot of these different uh, what do you call it? These workloads for power with all of these data centers. And one of the biggest players in there has been GE. Um, I keep going back to that presentation we did long episodes ago, where we basically just broke down all the different sectors. I mean, grid upgrades, power storage, all that stuff, a really, really big piece to the AI story. Um, this is one that I don't have the individual stock, but this is one that does play a big role in the power dynamic that I've been talking about. And yeah, this is a stock that if we see a market crash, I probably like want to sell everything I have and buy it. This is one I feel very strong about long term. So this is I would put this on any weakness in this stock. I would be a buyer for sure.
That's crazy, man. Like
Yeah,
I'm just looking at this chart. This is just ridiculous.
bro. I mean, this is one of the strongest charts. I mean, it almost looked like SanDisk.
Yeah, yeah. That's another crazy stock that's moving like a rocket ship.
It almost looks like SanDisk.
That is
So,
crazy.
but yeah, GEV has been one of the best performing stocks out there that doesn't get a lot of attention, but you know, we've been we put y'all on this one.
Yep. Like big time. Big time. We also see another company that reported earnings was Tesla. Tesla reported Q1 2026 earnings today, beating analyst expectation for profit, slightly missing on revenue targets. So, I mean, you kind of know like why they kind of miss, right? Because if you think about it, Tesla deliveries it's never really like it's never really anything spectacular, you know.
No.
But the company has been focused a lot more on like AI, robotics, robo taxis, and I know they've been scrapping plans on building like the cheaper model. Also, they're not building that anymore. So it's like, I mean, you can kind of tell why some of those misses happen, right? Because I think they're investing a lot of money heavily on AI, robotics, and robo taxis. So, I mean, I can understand that. The one thing that shocked me though, it looks like the stock went up after market after hours, and then they just dropped after that. So I'm not sure
Yeah.
what happened there.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing, so the thing about Tesla right now is that if you're a Tesla investor, I think you have to really understand that Tesla is no longer wanting to be known for cars. Like they're pivoting to an entirely different type of company, right? And I think what people are saying, or what Elon said on the call, I saw this in a message from one of my friends. He said that if you bought a Tesla prior to 2023, the chips that they use in those cars will not be able to have the enhanced full self-driving.
Mm.
And I think that a lot of people didn't know that. And what basically that means is that remember how Elon was talking about like, oh, if you bought a Tesla and you want to like put it into the robo taxi fleet, you can do that and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically saying, well, that doesn't count if you didn't buy it. Like you can't do it if you didn't buy like 2023 or newer.
Newer.
So all those people who probably bought like 2022, 2021, 2020, they are basically kicked out. They can't do the whole robo taxi thing because I think the chips that they put in those cars are not as advanced as um, what he needs to get full self-driving technology done.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I think Tesla is one of those stocks that doesn't always move on fundamentals. It doesn't always move on earnings. As they start to pivot away from cars into robotics and other stuff, we'll see what happens to the company as a whole. But um, yeah, you just have to believe in the robotic story if you want to be a long time holder of this company because it's no longer a
Yeah.
car company.
Yeah. It's not. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I I, I think with the robot, Tesla's probably is ahead of its time, right? Because it's like I think as I can see the connection between what AI like ChatGPT, Claude, and all that stuff, taking that like those learning models of a bot agent and now putting it in an actual body, right? I think that's gonna be some type of a hardware that's going to be needed to actually host the brain behind because instead of you sitting in front of a computer giving prompt, you can actually get a robot that actually can have a conversation with you and give you real-time answers right in front of you and be able to run errands for you and all that stuff, right? I think that's probably where there's going to be a connection between those two worlds. Like right now, a lot of the AI system that we use is it lives on a software somewhere in front of a computer, right? Imagine that on a brain, on a body, walking around, be able to analyze the world. Like I think there's gonna be definitely a link somewhere, somehow later down the road. So I think in the short run, it might not make sense right now, but I can see a connection there in the long run. Like I really can, you know. But we'll see. Elon always comes up with these crazy ideas that somehow end up working. I don't know how, like the thing with the rocket going up and coming back and exactly deploying back and coming back to the exact point where it left from, like that is brilliant. but it took a long time, and a lot of people didn't believe in him for that one. But look at it, it's working now. You know, he's going to be dominating in that area too. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one. I'll
Yep.
LRCX. Let's talk about that one. I didn't really get a chance to look at that stocks.
Yeah, so LRCX is
Land
one of the
research.
yeah, that's one of the companies I have said is part of the picks and shovels of the AI story. So when you're thinking about is there demand for AI, right? The companies that you need to pay the most attention to on their calls are TSM, Applied Materials, Lam Research, because
Mm,
they create the equipment to manufacture chips, right? I mean, LRCX and AMET, they create the equipment, and ASML, right? So they
mhm.
create the equipment that goes into the fabrication buildings for manufacturing that TSM and all of them need. So LRCX, very strong. They said revenue of 5.84 billion, adjusted EPS of 1.47, which were both above expectations. And they guided next quarter above consensus. So when you see these companies continuing to raise guidance, that basically means that there's still more demand for what they're looking for. So I will say that the stock has ran tremendously. I mean, go look at that chart. Let's see. I'm looking at a 2-year chart of LRCX. Yeah, LRCX was a $56 stock way back in April 2025.
Crazy,
LRCX is now a $273 stock as
crazy.
it got up to 279 in the after hours. So this is another strong company out there that I said that it's very important to the whole AI build out. So yeah, very strong earnings. ASML had good things to say. We saw TSM had good things to say. Now LRCX has good things to say. I'm not gonna, like I said, I don't think we're in an AI bubble right now.
No,
So
no. I
yeah.
don't think so either. I really don't think so. Let's talk
Oh,
about IBM, man. I mean, IBM reported really good. I mean, they earnings per share was up, a dollar point nine versus 1.8 when expected. Revenue was up 15.92 billion versus 15.62 billion expected. They grew their revenue 9% year over year. The net income of 1.22 billion or $1.28 a share increased from $1.06 billion or 1.12 per share in its fourth quarter of 2024. So again, they did really good, but I think
guidance. It's the
guidance,
guidance.
we
It's the
talk about
guidance.
that all the time.
Man,
They
it's the guidance.
maintained the guidance for the year. They didn't raise it. So
Yeah.
investors don't like that. And I think you talked about that, right? It's like it's cool when you like, giving all these good numbers, but it's like year over year, the expectation for your investors is gonna go up. Even if you do really, really, really well, if you don't give a good guidance going into next year, investors gonna drop you.
Correct.
So
We always been saying that investors pay for future performance. Like that's what you're being paid for because I'm investing money today basically for dollars you're going to earn tomorrow. So that's where, PE ratios and things like that come in. It's like, okay, what am I paying for earnings now for what you're going to make in the future? So guidance, they kind of held it. And I know sometimes companies are a little bit tepid about giving too much optimistic guidance. Maybe they're sandbagging. I don't know. But it's one of those things that did hurt the stock. So IBM, I mean, their strategy when it comes to AI and quantum, I think there's something there. I just execution has always been their issue. That's the thing with IBM. Execution
mm,
has always been their issue. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
you know, they didn't. They're down almost what 8-9% after hours right now.
yep, yep, yep.
Yeah,
I mean, even if we talk about ServiceNow, NOW, another one too. Earning per share was 97 cents adjusted versus 96 cents expected. Revenue was 3.77 billion versus 3.74 billion expected. I mean, same exact story there. What happened? Good on your numbers, but again, when you don't give a good forward guidance, the company basically dropped. Now, the reason they gave though is like, is that really the Like they're talking about that they're really losing that much on those there's the whole war and not getting that those Middle East contracts.
I don't know.
I don't know, man. That to me that sounds a little fishy.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't call it. Um, but I remember the CEO was probably on Mad Money today talking to Kramer because he's very like when the
He'll always
stocks
talk.
when the stock is down, he's very boisterous about how Wall Street's got it wrong and all this stuff. Remember, I saw on February he bought like $3 million worth of shares. Yeah, let's go see what that's done since February. Yeah, he's probably down like 20, 30, 40% maybe,
Hmm.
depending on when he bought it. Yeah, so ServiceNow, I don't know enough about their business personally, but one of the things that this is not a stock that I would just run out and go buy
Hmm.
at this level because with what Anthropic is doing, you have to start to question and ask yourself when it comes to software, always ask yourself this question now. Is the software mission critical?
Hmm.
If it's not mission critical software and it's nice to have software, I'd probably stay away from the business.
Yep.
Mission critical software because it seems like Anthropic, if you got a nice to have type of software, it looks like Anthropic can basically replicate that pretty quickly. But mission critical software to me is important. So I'm pretty sure all software stocks tomorrow are going to take a hit. You're
Yep.
probably seeing it in
Yep.
the after hours right now already. I
Yep.
saw IGV was down pretty tremendously. So yeah, you just gotta see if the market if the winners and losers in the software story will start to separate themselves. But right now, we just haven't seen it.
Yep. Yep.
Just
So
haven't
yeah,
seen it.
it'll be interesting to see how the market opens up because I think I was telling you I was like, oh, what happened to Microsoft was dropping, Oracle was dropping, like a lot of those companies that kind of like you said do software and stuff. They're all kind of getting beat right now. Even after hours, they're still getting beat right now. But we shall see if this is temporary or this is gonna like a new wave of you know how those a lot of those software companies are actually going to be going, so we're going to keep an eye on that. But overall, man, like I think earnings has been a hit and miss so far. It hasn't been like crazy move to the upside. Like we haven't seen any of those crazy moves except for maybe for like the power story, right? Go look at Aklo is back to like 70, I think 70 something. Yeah, Aklo is
Yeah,
back to like $70 or
yeah.
something like that. So
Nuclear stocks went nuclear today.
yep, so those stocks are moving again. What else was moving today? Let me see. Yep, a lot of those energy stock was moving today also. So again, the story behind the whole AI, the whole nuclear, the whole energy, that's still very, 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 very much intact. So we're gonna keeping an eye on that to see exactly what's happening with that one. So let's pivot, man. I think the jet fuel issue that's like hitting airlines across the globe. I mean, go look at tickets these days. Like I was trying to go to Chicago from Georgia. I mean, I'm used to paying like maybe $200. I mean, those prices are now up to like 300, high 300, almost $400 for just to get to Chicago, and it's not a far flight. It's like maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours max to get to Chicago. And if you look at some of those airlines, the way they structure their seating now, it is crazy. They're almost forcing you to like buy a premium seat. Otherwise, they're basically telling you like you buy the ticket. We all know you might be sitting in the middle by the bathroom. You might be sitting in the middle between two fat people. I don't know. Like you just never know where you're gonna be sitting anymore. Like unless you buy like a premium, then you can choose whatever you want to sit. So again, I think airlines are getting very, very creative in trying to squeeze more money out of consumers. And it's causing issues. So let's talk a little bit about that, man, because I don't know if you've seen the end of it yet.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I'm worried about is that the inflation that we could see in services because of higher ticket prices, because of this blockade, to me is not a good thing. Um, I'm still very hesitant about being super, super, super optimistic about the market because the energy story has a direct effect into the inflation story. And we had a new potential Fed chair sit with the committee yesterday and got grilled about being Mr. Trump's sock puppet and what he wants to do with, rates and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
That's going to be very interesting to see what happens because I don't know. Something tells me that we're going to see higher inflation.
Mhm.
Just something tells me we're going to see higher inflation.
Yep. Yep.
We haven't seen it yet. I think it's going to take some time, right? Because the war started what, March, early
Hmm.
March, late February. We're only in April, and sometimes we see delayed effects. I would be real curious to see where we are at the end of summer.
Yep. Me
So,
too.
because this you got to understand, energy affects so many businesses, transportation, food, so many things get affected by higher energy prices. So we'll just have to wait and see. Um, I'm just not I'm not 100% on board that we haven't seen the worst of it yet. And I would keep saying this, I hope it doesn't happen, but we just don't want to ever see the Fed have to raise
Hmm.
rates. You don't want to see that after cutting and then going and raising. You don't want to see that. You do not want to see that. So, and I will also say this, you cannot decrease inflation if the Fed funds rate is below the CPI rate. This can't happen. Can't happen. So if the CPI rate starts to creep up above the Fed funds rate,
Hmm. Yeah.
that's going to be a nasty, nasty dilemma for the Fed. So
Yep.
that's what I'm watching. That's what I'm watching, man. Because again, the supply constraint, and it's not like a switch either. Like it's not
Hmm.
like okay, everything's over, everything goes back to number. It's going to take time.
Yep.
So we
Yep.
just don't know how much damage has been done already. So man, got
It's
to be
gonna be.
patient. Got to be. It's going to be interesting to see, and only
Yeah.
time will tell. Only
Yeah.
time will tell.
Yeah. Like I said, like I'll be interested to see what happens when the new Fed chair comes in and what exactly kind of problems are going to have in his end. 'Cause I'm pretty sure if they have to raise rates or whatever, I think they're going to blame it on Jerome Powell. They're going to be like, he waited too long. Now we have to do this. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
That's gonna be a scapegoat. Like they're gonna definitely like, yeah, they're gonna use him. But yeah, that's gonna be interesting, man. One of the interesting news that I was like watching, kind of following, is this potential like tariff refunds that after the Supreme Court gonna rule that the tariff was illegal and all that stuff. So I didn't know this, but the U.S. collected $166 billion just from whenever tariff was initiated to now from different companies. You know what I mean? So now they have to create this whole process on how to refund those companies. So I guess now the companies who are actually um, potentially paid refunds, I mean paid tariffs all this time, they can go on this website, submit paperwork to get paid to get paid from the government their refunds and all this stuff. So they say who's eligible is the refunds are for businesses that pay the tariffs, typically the importer of record. And in the way to apply this, importers must use the new Consolidated Administration and Processing Entries portal launched by the U.S. Custom and Border Protection on April 20th. So they literally just launched it, you know. Processing time 60 to 90 days after you get approved.
Sheesh.
So imagine that. You don't know when you're gonna get approved. Especially if you're a company that does not have a lobbying in Washington or don't have somebody who can speak for you in Washington. Good luck.
The U.S. don't have strike.
Good luck. Good luck trying to get this out there. You know what I mean? But again, they said individual consumers, because that's another question that people kind of put out there. Okay, if companies are able to go in and collect some money, can consumers go in there? Because technically the company charged us for this tariff. They said nope. Individual consumers are not eligible to file directly or for refunds, but you can still go like DHL, FedEx, and UPS. Um, they have announced that they might potentially refund their customers directly for tariff fees. So they're gonna go collect that and then refund the customers for it. So again, like in all of these conversations, I'm not seeing any of those companies saying we're gonna lower our prices once we get our tariffs back. Like I don't
I think
see
my
any of them
Zoom
saying
feed.
like, did I lose you? I think I lost Wale. Hold on.
I think my Zoom feed went bad and I lost you. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Are we back on?
Yeah, we back. We back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, you good, you good. But again, like I said, like I don't see any of those companies saying they're gonna lower their prices. I don't see them saying that they want to refund the consumers, exception for DHL, FedEx, and UPS. So again, some of those prices that we're paying higher than, honestly, I believe is here to stay, unless if consumers decide to boycott all the companies that selling us consumer goods. Other than that, we are not getting any cents from this refund that potentially going to be given back to those consumers. President Trump said something funny. He's like, it would be nice if Apple and Microsoft, or I forgot, Apple and somebody else decide not to get the refunds back. Because yeah, I mean, they paid a lot of money, especially with those import those phones from China and stuff. They paid a lot of money in tariffs. So he said it would be nice for them to not, request the refunds back. I was like, I don't know, man. That's a lot of money. There's definitely going to be some deals negotiated between those companies in order for them to not get the refund back. But
Yeah.
I just thought that was an interesting news that, $166 billion have been collected from April of last year to now. That's crazy.
And
That
and
is
and
crazy.
and the national debt is still going up. The
Yep.
national debt still going up.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I thought we were working on like the whole Doge and all that stuff to lower all of these things, but that didn't work. Doge got scrapped real quick. You don't hear anything about Doge anymore. Gone. Gone. It
That
was a
was a
good idea.
that was a puppet show.
Oh man, that is crazy, man. But let's move on to some of the economic calendars, man. So this week, tomorrow, the initial jobless claim, of course, comes out at 8:30, but there's nothing crazy happening. But moving on to next week, I believe we have the FOMC interest rate decision. I mean, I think we're gonna hold. I don't think we have enough information to raise or to lower. So in my opinion, that's just probably gonna be another question and answer from Jerome Powell to just talk about different things and get his opinion on things. But again, that's coming up Wednesday, April 29th at 2 p.m. The decision is going to come out 2:30 as usual. Jerome will come out and speak. And then literally the next day we have PCE index and core PCE also come out at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday, April 30th. And then I think Friday there's nothing scheduled. So I don't see any other big news coming up until
FOMC
yeah,
28th, 29th. I mean, yeah, 29th.
there's nothing else. Yeah. All right, man. Well, moving on to this week to finish up tomorrow and Friday, what are some of your advice, especially with all the stuff that's happening right now?
So I think I posted on my Instagram page. I posted a bunch of ETFs that kind of highlight different areas of the AI build out.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always said this that, you know, people want to invest in AI and they're like, okay, what do I buy this? Do I buy that? An easy solution is that you can buy an ETF.
Yep.
Or if you want to you want to buy individual companies, look at the top 10 holdings of those ETFs and you'll start to see some of the leaders in that space.
Yep.
So yeah, I listed a couple on there. If you don't follow me on Instagram, feel free to follow me. I am the ethical underscore investor. But if you want to invest in general AI, we got AIQ, ARTY. Let me see what else is on here. Let me go to the actual picture. BAI, Chat, CHAT, WTAI, and IVES. You want to invest in data center and infrastructure, you got DTCR, you got IDGT, and TRFK. Power and electrification, you've got ZAP, POWR, and IDEP. Software and services, you got ARTY, BAI, you've got AIQ and IGPT. And semis, to me, the best one is SMH, but there is another one, SOXX as well. So you don't have to just pick one company or pick one winner, you know, because that can be very hard, or if you don't
Yep.
want to have a concentrated position.
Yep.
But if you've got enough capital and you want to deploy into individual positions, just look at the top 10 holdings, do some research, you'll see some commonality, and those will be your leaders. So
Yep.
I
Yep.
will leave you guys with that.
Yep. And I guarantee if you look at all of those ones, you're gonna find at least five that's common in
Yeah.
all these ETFs. So
Yeah. So, and like I said, there's just so many different things you can invest in. There's one sleeper company that I missed, and every time I keep looking back at it, it keeps marching higher. Dell.
Dell. I haven't really looked at Dell in a while.
Go look at Dell for the last
Ooh.
like 5 weeks,
I think it's just chilling, just oh my God.
and then it just took off. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dell is one that I keep looking at it, I keep looking at it, I keep looking at it,
it's
and
just moving.
yeah.
It's just moving.
So yeah,
That's crazy.
Dell has been one of those kind of silent winners out there. So yeah, I would put that.
That's crazy.
That's one of my AI dark horses.
That's crazy. Okay, I see. All
And
right, well,
if I'm not mistaken, let me just check something real quick.
man, that is crazy.
Yeah, Dell just hit an all-time high today of 217.39.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So
So
let me ask you about this too. Have you seen Car? I know we've been looking at Car for a while. Whoever bought Car yesterday,
it's
I am
angry.
I am so sorry. I am so sorry because you got baited and they
Clapped.
robbed your bank. They literally robbed you. Like the way that thing dropped today, I felt so bad, man. Like because everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's hit 800. It's gonna go to 1,000." I know a lot of people probably bought the whole hype, but I couldn't for the life of me find why the stock was moving so high. I could not figure it out.
It has nothing to do with fundamentals. It just has to do with the fact that the float was overextended.
Yeah, yeah. And somebody
And
probably had to close their position or buy the position.
short squeeze.
Yeah. That is, I feel bad. If you bought it yesterday, I am so sorry. If you drop all your money in there, I am so sorry. But
And
this is the
I
reason
saw
why
people were buying like the 900 calls and 950 calls. Like there was
people
some
dump
volume.
people dump some money.
And they weren't cheap.
Yep,
Ooh, man.
people dump some money in there. Cause you imagine, man? Can you imagine like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 for 2 straight weeks? This thing has just been running. And then you just came out and say, you know what? It's been running like crazy. I'm gonna just get it. And then yesterday you decided to buy in. Even this morning, you decided to like, this is time to get in. It's still moving. Woo boy.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
that's a painful lesson. That's a very painful lesson.
37% drop in one
Yeah.
day. That is crazy.
Shane said it depreciated more than an actual car.
I mean, it depreciated so
I mean,
quick.
37.82%. Now, if you were on the other side and you had puts, I wonder if they got paid.
I mean, the volatility on that side probably was crazy too.
Yeah,
So
because the implied volatility is pretty high. So I'm just trying to figure
mhm.
out if people who had let me go look at some of the puts, see if there was a big any big payouts. So if you bought weeklies, let's look at the weekly puts. Yeah, you didn't make that much money.
Nope. Because IV was crazy in there. You know what I mean? Like you talk about 4 or 5, 600% IV, 60%. Like that's 600% IV. That's crazy. Like at that point, this is gambling.
Yeah, I'm
It's
looking at some of these
gambling.
percentages. I don't see anything above 200%.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you're talking about a stock that went down almost 40% and you only got 200%.
100%.
That's it.
IV crushed your position.
Well,
Like
I'll be fighting air
you
like
call
tr-
the
like
you ever
like
call
tr-
the brokerage? This is wrong. This is just wrong. They're like
Trey and Boys in the Hood. Like this, I'll be fighting air, bro.
oh man, because this is crazy, man. This is crazy.
Yeah. So
But
especially
anyways, people on both sides probably got screwed. And honestly,
that's true. That's
you
probably
know.
true.
So, but this is a very expensive lesson, man. This is a very expensive lesson because everybody was talking about the meme stock and how much is running and all this. So I was like, yo, always look at that IV, man. I don't care how much the stock is running. IV, anything above 100%, 200%, 300%, just you just know you have a possibility you're not gonna make money off of that thing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So, but yeah, man, welcome to the world of trading. You know, sometimes you gotta pay a very expensive fee for your entry. So
Yep.
yeah. Well, with that being said, this is it for us, man. I don't know if you got anything else you want to say. I just thought we would close with that card drop, and yeah, hopefully somebody was watching, and I hope none of our people got in because I'll be like, yo,
Yeah. I mean, there's certain times where I see stuff that just run like SanDisk. I didn't chase SanDisk, man.
mm-mm, mm-mm.
Micron, I didn't chase Micron, and Micron's still moving. And
Yep,
sometimes I just goes against what I believe in
yep,
sometimes.
yep,
So,
yep,
I'll eat that bullet.
yeah. Well, and that's a wrap for today's episode of Wall Street Rundown. We always love having you guys come in. Make sure you guys stay locked in for the next episode. And as always, man, stay sharp, stay disciplined. We'll see you guys on Friday.
Take care, everyone.